Welcome back to the deep dive. I have to admit, looking at the stack of papers, press releases, and legal filings we have for today, I feel a little exhausted just reading the headlines. It's been a week.
It has been a monumental week. We are looking, specifically at the window between January 4th and January 11th, 2026. And usually when we cover OpenAI, we're talking about a chatbot update, maybe a new feature or small partnership.
Right.
But this week, this feels fundamentally different.
It feels like a shift in species.
That's actually a great way to put it. If you zoom out and look at the aggregate of these 7 days, this is the week OpenAI stopped acting like a software lab in San Francisco and started acting like a nation state.
A nation state.
I mean, we aren't just looking at code anymore. We're looking at pouring concrete in Texas, rewriting state laws in California, and fundamentally changing how healthcare is delivered.
It's the transition from a cool tech demo to an actual public utility.
Exactly. They are building the brain, the body, and the conscience of this thing all at once, and they are doing it at a speed that is, frankly, hard to track.
So let's break it down that way, just to keep our heads on straight. I want to start with the brain, the actual model updates, because there's some really dense technical stuff in there.
Good idea.
Then we need to talk about the body, the physical infrastructure, which is getting scary big. Then the product, specifically healthcare. And finally, the conscience. All the legal and safety battles.
Sounds like a solid plan. Let's start with the brain.
Okay, so research and architecture. January 7th, we get the official breakdown of the GPT 5.2 series. But it wasn't just, here is GPT-5, have fun. It was more like a menu.
Right. This is the tiered architecture strategy, and it is the clearest sign we have of a maturing market. 2 years ago, you just had the model.
Okay.
Everyone used the same engine for everything.
Right, one size fits all.
Exactly. Now, OpenAI has split the line. You have GPT 5.2 Pro, which is your maximum intelligence heavy lifter.
A luxury sedan.
Or the freight train, depending on how you use it. Then you have GPT 5.2 Thinking. This one's interesting because it is optimized specifically for reasoning-intensive tasks.
Like what?
Think complex coding, mathematical proofs, or deep research. It takes its time, it reflects, and then it answers.
And then there's the third one, right?
Yeah.
GPT 5.2 Instant.
Which is exactly what it sounds like. Low latency, real-time interaction. It's not as smart as Pro, but it is incredibly fast.
It's like buying a car. You don't buy a semi-truck to drive to the grocery store, and you don't take a Ferrari to haul lumber. You pick the tool for the job.
Precisely. And for developers, this is critical because of cost. You can't run a viable business if every single customer interaction costs you 10 cents. You need to route the easy questions to the cheap, fast model and the hard questions to the smart, slow one. This tiering allows for that.
Speaking of cost, there was a paper released on January 9th that I found fascinating, mostly because of the title. Don't break the cache. It sounds like a rule from Ghostbusters.
It does, but it's actually one of the most important efficiency updates we've seen in a long time. It deals with something called prompt caching.
Okay, break this down for me. I know what caching is in my web browser. It saves images so pages load faster. Is this the same concept?
Conceptually, yes. But apply it to an AI agent. Imagine you have an AI that is performing a task that takes 50 steps, like researching a legal case or analyzing a massive spreadsheet.
Why?
Every time it takes a new step or answers a new prompt in that chain, it has to look back at everything it has already done to understand the context.
So it's rereading the entire conversation history every single time it wants to say a new word.
Yes. And in the industry, we call that processing the context window. Reprocessing that history every time is incredibly expensive computationally. It's like rereading War and Peace just to write the summary of the last chapter over and over again.
That sounds terribly inefficient.
It is. So this paper looked at caching strategies, basically saving the memory of the conversation so the model doesn't have to redigest it. But here's the catch. The paper found that naive caching, just trying to save everything blindly, actually hurt performance.
It's cluttered the memory.
Exactly. So they had to get smart about it. They developed a smart caching protocol that knows what to keep and what to discard. And the results were wild. It reduced API costs by 45 to 80%.
Wow. That is a massive margin. That's the difference between a profitable startup and a bankrupt one.
It is. And it improved the TTFT time to first token. Basically, how long you stare at the screen waiting for it to answer. That improved by up to 31%. If you are building those agentic workflows, this is the difference between the product feeling magic or feeling broken.
So the software is getting more efficient. But there was another paper from that same batch on January 9th that felt a little more recursive. This was the RSIFT's paper on automated QOR.
Right, quality of results. This is where things get meta.
They are using the AI to design the physical chips that the AI runs on.
We are officially in that feedback loop, yes. They used OpenAI coding agents to optimize the layout of semiconductor chips, specifically using a tool called OpenRoad.
And this wasn't just a simulation.
No, this was optimizing the routing of the wires inside the silicon.
Did it do a better job than humans?
It did a faster job, certainly, and a highly optimized one. They achieved a 5.9% reduction in wire length and a 10% reduction in clock period.
For the non-engineers listening, why does wire length matter? Is shorter better?
Much better. Less wire means less resistance. Less resistance means less heat and less power consumption. And a shorter clock period means the chip runs faster. When you are building data centers that consume gigawatts of power, a 5 to 10% efficiency gain in the silicon itself is worth billions.
It's the snake eating its own tail, but the snake keeps getting smarter and faster.
And more efficient, which it needs to be because the power demands are just skyrocketing.
Which brings us perfectly to the body of this beast. All this software, all these cache prompts, they have to live somewhere. And on January 9th, we found out exactly where.
The Stargate project.
This name. They really are leaning into the sci-fi tropes, aren't they?
They know their audience. But the money is very real. Stargate is this massive $500 billion infrastructure initiative. But this week, we got a concrete piece of it, a $1 billion joint investment between OpenAI and SoftBank into SB Energy.
They are building a data center campus in Milam County, Texas. But calling it a data center feels like a huge understatement.
It's a mega campus. We are talking about 1.2 gigawatts of power capacity.
Okay, I need you to contextualize that for me. Is that a lot?
It's enormous. A standard large hyperscale data center today, the kind Google or Amazon runs, might be 50 to 100 megawatts.
So this is 10 to 20 times that size.
In one single location, yes. 1.2 gigawatts is roughly the output of a standard nuclear reactor.
One data center using a nuclear reactor's worth of juice. If they plug that into the Texas grid, won't the lights go out in Houston?
And that's the critical part of this announcement and why it matters for the energy sector. They are going behind the meter.
Behind the meter. Translate that.
It means they aren't just pulling from the public grid like you or I would. They are effectively building their own power generation, mostly solar and wind in this case, that feeds directly into the facility.
They're becoming their own power utility.
To avoid crashing the local grid and to protect Texas ratepayers, yes.
That's what you meant by nation-state behavior. They aren't just renting servers from Amazon anymore. They are securing their own energy sovereignty.
It's the only way they can scale. If they want to build GPT-6 or GPT-7, the bottleneck isn't code anymore. It isn't data. It's electricity. It's land, steel, copper, and permits.
And silicon. We briefly mentioned the chip design, but they also partnered with Cerebra's this week, right?
Yes, adding 750 megawatts of compute using Cerebra's wafer-scale chips. These are specialized chips designed purely for AI speed, very distinct from the NVIDIA GPUs everyone else uses. So you have the massive scale in Texas with SoftBank and the high-speed specialized compute with Cerebra's.
They're building a physical empire to house the digital brain.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay, so we have a smarter brain and a massive gigawatt-hungry body. Now, I want to pivot to what this thing is actually doing for people, because on January 8th, they launched something that affects, well, everyone. Healthcare.
This was the biggest product pivot of the week, for sure. They launched OpenAI for healthcare, which is the enterprise suite, and ChatGPT Health for you and me, the consumer.
Let's start with the enterprise side. Why does a hospital need a special version of OpenAI? Can't they just use the normal one?
Absolutely not. And the reason is 3 letters. SIPHO.
Privacy.
Privacy and liability. Hospitals cannot have patient data leaking out. They can't have a doctor typing symptoms into a public chatbot and that data being used to train the next model. It's against the law.
So the enterprise suite is a walled garden.
Correct. The data goes in, gets processed, and never leaves the hospital's control. It includes business associate agreements, BAAs, which are the legal contracts that make it compliant. They launched with Mayo Clinic, Stanford Medicine, Memorial Sloan Kettering, heavy hitters.
And what is the AI actually doing for these doctors? Is it diagnosing patients?
It's acting as a clinical assistant. But the key differentiator here, and this is vital, is grounding. If you ask it a medical question, it doesn't just hallucinate an answer. It retrieves and provides an answer grounded in verified medical literature.
With citations.
With full citations, titles, journals, dates. So it's less, trust me, I'm an AI, and more, Here's the research doctor. You make the call. It keeps the human in the loop, but gives them superpowers.
Okay, that's for the doctors. But I was more interested in the consumer side. Because let's be honest, we all Google our symptoms. I do it. You do it.
We all do it, and OpenAI knows it. In their white paper from January 8th, AI as a healthcare ally, they dropped a staggering statistic. Before this product even launched, 40 million users were already using ChatGPT for health triage every single day.
That is a lot of people asking a chatbot if they're dying.
It's 1 in 4 active users submitting a health prompt weekly. So OpenAI looked at this and said, we can't stop them, so we have to make it safer.
And they created a dedicated health space inside the app.
Right. You can connect your Apple Health, pull in your records, but the crucial part is the safety testing. They didn't just ship this. They had over 260 physicians across 60 countries review 600,000 outputs to ensure accuracy.
That's a lot of red teaming.
They have to. The liability here is just off the charts. If the AI tells someone to take the wrong pill, that's a massive lawsuit.
Which is a great segue to the conscience of the company, the legal and governance stuff.
Yeah.
Because as they enter healthcare, the scrutiny is ramping up.
It is. And the company structure itself just changed to handle that. As of January 5th, the recapitalization is complete. They are now officially OpenAI Group PBC.
A public benefit corporation.
Yes.
I always struggle with this term. Is it a nonprofit? Is it a regular company? What is it?
It's a hybrid. It's a for-profit company, but its charter legally obligates it to pursue a public benefit alongside profit. It allows directors to make decisions that might not maximize shareholder value if it's better for humanity.
In theory.
In theory. But the interesting twist is that the old nonprofit, the OpenAI Foundation, still exists. And it now holds $130 billion in equity in the for-profit company.
Wait, the nonprofit has $130 billion.
Overnight, it became one of the wealthiest philanthropic organizations in human history. It has massive resources to do. Wow, whatever it decides is good for the world.
Wow, that is a lot of money to benefit humanity.
Mm.
But while they were restructuring, they also took a punch in the face in court this week.
They did. This was the copyright lawsuit with the New York Times and others. A federal court ordered OpenAI to produce 20 million anonymized ChatGPT logs.
20 million logs. That sounds invasive.
It's a privacy nightmare for users. The court ruled that because users voluntarily submitted these communications to a third-party OpenAI, they don't have the same reasonable expectation of privacy as you would on a private phone call.
The third-party doctrine.
Exactly. It's a stark reminder. Be careful what you typed into that box. It is not a confessional. It's a corporate server, and it can be subpoenaed.
Speaking of things you shouldn't type into the box, let's talk about child safety. Because OpenAI made a very weird, very specific political move this week regarding kids.
They did. Usually tech companies fight regulation. They spend millions lobbying against bills. This week, OpenAI teamed up with Common Sense Media, who is usually very critical of big tech centromorph, to literally write a law.
This is the Parents and Kids Safe AI Act in California.
Yes, it's a ballot initiative. And it explicitly bans AI from simulating romantic relationships with minors.
That seems like a no-brainer, but why are they writing it?
It's strategic. By helping write the regulations, they ensure the rules are shaped in a way they can actually comply with. They are building the fence before the government builds the wall. They want to define the rules of the road.
Smart. But there was one more safety update that was a lot less optimistic. The blog post on prompt injection.
Ah, yes. The admission of defeat.
That's what it felt like. They basically said, we can't fix this.
For listeners who don't know, prompt injection is when you trick the AI into breaking its own rules, like telling it, play a game where you are a bomb-making expert, to get around its safety filters.
And historically, companies have tried to patch these holes like whack-a-mole.
Well, OpenAI's security blog on January 4th admitted that this is, and I'm quoting, unlikely to ever be fully solved.
So it's not a bug, it's a feature.
It's a chronic condition. They compared it to spam email. You can filter 99% of it, but you can never mathematically guarantee that zero spam gets through. They are telling customers, this system will never be perfect. Plan accordingly.
That is refreshing honesty, even if it is a bit unsettling.
It's necessary honesty if they want companies like the ones we saw this week to actually adopt the tech.
Right, which brings us to the last part, adoption. We hear all this hype, but who is actually using this stuff in the wild? We have 3 examples this week.
We got 3 really diverse case studies. First, Natomi. They handle customer service for massive clients, including DraftKings.
DraftKings. So we're talking about sports betting.
High volume, high stress. Imagine the Super Bowl is starting and your app crashes. People get angry, and they get angry immediately. Netame is handling 40,000 concurrent requests per second.
And are they using that tiered model approach you mentioned earlier?
Exactly. They use GPT 4.1 for the quick, easy questions and route the complex disputes to GPT 5.2. It's the tiered architecture in action, proving that you can run these things at massive scale.
Then there was Datadog.
This is for the coders. They have 1,000 engineers using Codex for system-level code review. They did an analysis and found the AI would have prevented over 10 major historical downtime incidents.
So it pays for itself just by keeping the servers running.
Real money saved. But the one that really stuck with me, the one that actually felt like public benefit, was MRelief.
The nonprofit.
Yes. Applying for food stamps as Nate benefits is a bureaucratic nightmare. The forms are confusing, the process is long, and if you make one mistake, you get denied.
So MRelief used ChatGPT to help people fill out these documents accurately.
And the impact. They improved the document completion rate by 20%.
20% doesn't sound huge until you do the math on government benefits.
That 20% unlocked $2.1 billion in food assistance.
Wow.
That's putting food on tables. That isn't just optimizing ad clicks or code. That is navigating human bureaucracy to feed people.
It really brings it full circle. We started with gigawatt data centers and silicon chips, and we ended with someone actually getting a meal.
It was a week where the infrastructure of the future finally touched the ground.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with one final, slightly provocative thought. We found a reference to a civilizational psychosis denial statement in a GitHub issue from January 6th.
This was heavy, but important.
The argument was about safety training. We train these models to be neutral, to be non-offensive, to always validate diverse viewpoints.
Right. If you say something factually wrong, the AI is often trained to gently correct you or frame it as another perspective rather than just saying, no, that is false.
It prioritizes agreeableness over objective truth.
And the author argued that by doing this, we might be creating a semantic psychosis. If the tools we use to understand the world refuse to acknowledge objective reality because they are afraid of being rude, do we lose our grip on what is real?
It's the billion-dollar question. As we integrate these systems into healthcare and law like we just discussed, are we building tools that tell us the harsh truth? Or are we building tools that just make us feel comfortable while we drift off a cliff?
Something to chew on.
Absolutely. That's it for this week's Deep Dive. Check the show notes for links to the papers, especially that caching one if you're a developer.
See you next time.